So in this first programming assignment, you're actually creating a Hello World application. So let's go and get started in that. I'll click out of that and minimize Eagle. I do recommend Firefox web browser to browse Eagle, and I'm using Windows 10 this semester. If you have Windows 8, that's fine as well, or Windows 7 should work as well. So I'm going to click on the Start button, go to All Apps, and scroll down until I find the Microsoft Visual Studio 2015, which is this right here. I'm going to click on it to start, and this is what the interface looks like. Before we do anything, I'm going to go ahead and down here in your task where it's running in the taskbar, I'd like you to right click there, and we'll save that as a pin. We'll pin it to the taskbar, that way it'll stay there after we close it. So this is the interface of Visual Studio. When you first open it up, it'll probably look like this here. What I suggest is on this toolbox to click on it, and then there's a safety pin, looks like a pin here. Click on it and it'll stick on the left side. And you won't see anything right now, but we will in just a second. This is where all the tools are for your application. So buttons, labels, text boxes, things of that nature. On the right side is your Solution Explorer of where all your files are found. Team Explorer we're not using this semester, but that's a repository for developers to save and back up their code. So first thing you want to do is make sure you've installed Visual Studio. You've already selected Visual Basic as the default development language. Right, Solution Explorer, and the middle is where you begin building your project. So click on New Project. Visual Basic should be selected already. Windows Form Application is the second thing you'll select. And type in my space hello space world. Click OK. And here in a second, we'll see the form show up in the middle of the screen. And the form is a base of the application. In the name of the form is Form 1 right now. We're going to click once on the form, click again, and anytime I say click, I mean left click, and we're going to say FRM hello. FRM, all lowercase, H, capital H, ELLO, and make sure the .VB stays in there, and then press the return key on your keyboard. And what that's going to do is change the name of the form, plus it's going to change it here in the name property. So anytime I tell you to select the form, you need to select it up here. So select here, this bar here that on my mouse is over. It should say Form Hello, FRM Hello. Go down to the text property. We're going to say My First App! Exclamation point. Over here's all the objects you can add to your app. First thing you want to add is a label. So click and drag a label. Let's click and drag a text box. And let's click and drag a button. The label we're going to click and select. Go to the name property of the label here and do LBL message. And go to the text property and type in enter your first name. And if you do need to pause the podcast while to do this, feel free to do that. I'm going to click on the text box now and go to the name property. TXT first name, and then go to the button property, the button object, go to the name property of the button object, btn, submit. And go down to the text property and type submit. Now select all your objects by just clicking and dragging over them with your mouse, and let's center them somewhat into the form. There we go, that's fine. And let's make the button a little wider. By just clicking on the button, you can drag any of the boxes to make it wider or taller. There we go. Now this button here is going to be your friend to play the application and to start it. So go ahead and click to start. If there are any build errors, you can follow along with me to figure out what caused it. Says there are build errors, would you like to continue? No, I wouldn't. Down here is where the error is. I could double click on it. And it says here that it doesn't know what form 1 is, and that's because we named it to FRM hello. So we just get rid of the form 1. You should be able to see that FRM hello. Just select it. Now let's try to play it again. There we go. And so the app is playing. We can type in our name, first name, hit submit. It does nothing right now. Click the X to stop the app. Now let's go back to the Design tab. And I want you to double click on the Submit button. It'll take us to the code view of our application. To drag these Solution Explorer properties to make it skinnier, you can click and drag like I am on the bar here and make it a little bit easier to read up here. So what we're going to do is type some code in here. When the user hits a submit button, it's going to do something. And what we want it to do is grab what the user's name is in the text box and put a message in front. So MSG left parentheses, beginning quote. We'll go ahead and put in thanks, space, end quote, space, ampersand, and then the name of the object for the text box, which is txt. You'll notice when I just typed in txt, it popped up, and I can double click on it, select it. Dot text, so it's text txt first name dot txt, space, another ampersand, and the ampersand just allows us to concatenate the strings together here. So thanks, if I put Chuck in there, it'd be thanks Chuck, and I'm going to put left parenthesis or left quote, beginning quote, space, for running my app, exclamation point, end quote. So you should have MSG box, left parentheses, beginning quote, thanks, space, end quote, space, ampersand, txt first name, dot text, space, ampersand, space, beginning quote, space, for running my app, exclamation point, end quote, right parentheses. So now let's go ahead and save all. When we do that, it'll prompt us to save the location. Make sure you replace whatever's to the right of documents with CIS180 exercises, and that's where everything will be from now on in your documents in CIS180. So go ahead and click save. And now let's run the app again. Go ahead and type in Chuck. There we go. My Hello World title, thanks Chuck for running my app. If we put another name in here, we'll see that name pop up. Thanks Ted for running my app. And so that concludes how to create your first application. Now let's look and see where all the files are so we can package this together. All right. The easiest way to find your files, well, two ways to find it. One is to right-click on your solution name and go to Open Folder in File Explorer. This is where your files are located. And if you go into the bin folder, debug folder, this My Hello World, which has a type of application, if we were to double click on that, which I'll do now, it's running the application outside of Visual Studio. This application you could give to anyone running Windows 7 through 8 or Windows 7 through 10, and they should be able to run the application. So that's one way to find it. Probably the easiest way to find it, though, is if you just go to your File Explorer in Windows. Let's do that. And go to Documents. There's my CIS180 exercises. And here's my Hello World I just created. I just right-click and send to compressed folder. I'm going to name it Week 1. Week 1 is the file I'm going to use to upload into Week 1 assignment. And that concludes Week 1's assignment. If you have any questions, you can email me or chat. And hope you have a great first week. Bye-bye.